Okay, well, we'll just stop that intro then, as that has been. I can see it myself. It's jittery and sketchy, and I'm hoping that I'm not. I'm hoping that as you can see, I'm in the studio this week, and I don't get a fantastic signal in the studio. I get a much better signal when I'm actually out in the field. So I'm hoping that I'm not stuttering here and everything is going all right. So. Oh, it looks like it even looks like that's stuttering as well. Although it seems to be smoothing itself out now. That seems to be smoothing itself out now. Aye, that better. Right. Okay, I'll turn my face off to stop me confusing myself. Right, okay. Aye, guys, thanks for saying that's better. I'm assuming that we're all straightened out now. Don't know what that was. I mean, the past few weeks when I've been out in the field with just a hot spot, the connection has been fantastic and the intro played fine. Now I'm in the studio with the full setup where everything should be running much better. It's not. Anyway, we're all good now. Okay, so it's going to be a slightly shorter live stream tonight. I'll be finishing up about 10 minutes early because I'm the guest on the Drone Seekers International live stream tonight at 8 o'clock. So I'll be finishing up about 10 minutes before 8, which will give me time to get over and get into the green room and get all that sorted out. So slightly shorter live stream tonight, but it's an important one. So first of all, I'll explain why I'm in the studio. I was supposed to be at a place where there's a big rock just off of the west coast of Scotland, where there are seals, bask and pups swimming around and jumping about. And my plan was to go and live stream from there, fly Caledonia out and give you some live footage of the seals. And also when I jump over to the Drone Seekers International, I was going to be doing the same kind of thing on there. However, although it's been sunny all day here, it's been really cold and it's been extremely windy. The winds are very, very high. So I thought there's no point going down there. First of all, the seals won't be there because it's too cold and it's too windy to take Caledonia up, especially if it's windy here and I'm inland. I'm about maybe 20 miles inland. On the coast, the winds will be even stronger. So I decided just to broadcast from the studio tonight, and it would make it easier for me to transition from this live stream onto the Drone Seekers International live stream. So there we go. So that's why I'm in the studio. But I'm quite glad I'm in here tonight. Well, I'm not so glad with the signal. The signal is not as strong as it could be. And you can also hear my voice isn't great tonight. I've not been feeling too well all day either. And of course, this is the last day of my annual leave. I'm back at work tomorrow. And of course, I had to come down and start feeling poorly today, the day before I go back to work. So I'm not too pleased about that, but what can you do? So before we start, and I get into what the what do they call it, the meat of the show tonight, I want to just mention Dave Cullen, who is in the chat, I do believe. Yep, Dave Cullen, who did tell me that, oh, sorry Dave, that I'm fine now. Right, I'm going to mention a wee bit about Dave, and I've got Dave's permission to do this. If you're not aware yet, let me flick over to my second screen and show you this. Dave has made a publication, right? Dave is well. Anyway, who was it? It was George Allison, I believe, that published an article, and I'm probably getting this wrong, but I think the article was in the UK Defence Journal.org.uk. Here's the link to it. I'll just put the link into the chat right now for anyone who wants to go and have a look at it. If that link came up. Aye, that's the link there. The link to this article, which I'm now going to switch over and show you. Right, this article here, right? Now, the article is French sailor allegedly assaults Scottish drone operator. Now, I'm sure you're all familiar with this story. I made a little video about it with Dave's permission, right? So this is a fantastic article written by George. So if you want to go and read that, I'll briefly summarise it, right? George has laid out quite a lot of legal reasons why Dave was doing nothing order. He was in full compliance with the ANO. He was in full alignment with the CAA's drone codes. He did observe the separation distances. He adhered to NOTAMs, and there were no flight restrictions, right? There was no reckless behaviour, because there is a definition of reckless behaviour, and Dave was not, he didn't, nothing that he did can be characterised by that. All right, so, and George kind of sums it up by saying these points, supported by the specific legislation, clearly demonstrate the view that the operator's drone operation was both responsible and legal. Right, now it's an opinion piece, but it's an opinion piece backed up by legal. Here are the legal points that it's backed up by. So let me flick back to me, and I'll give you just a wee bit about the background and let you know, with Dave's permission, what's happening here. As you briefly saw there as I scrolled through it, and if you read the whole article later on, you'll see that Dave has had a letter from the Procurator Fiscal saying that they are going to go ahead and prosecute Dave for reckless endangerment, right? And they offered Dave a £200 fine, if you want to call it that. It's a way. It's a way in Scottish law that they can, instead of having to go to court and go through a whole procedure, a costly procedure, and leave Dave with a criminal record, they can offer him a £200. It's a fine, if you like, that'll leave Dave with no criminal record. It will save him any lawyer fees, and it means Dave's basically saying, okay, right, I'll take the slap on the wrist and I'll pay the £200 fine. Now, a lot of people, Dave has accepted this, right? And he did so partly on my advice. I just gave Dave my advice and my opinion, right? We were chatting about it during the week. And Dave has thought it all through, looked at all the pros and cons, and has decided to accept that offer of and pay the £200. Now, you might think, well, why? That's crazy. He's got an ironclad case. And I believe on paper, he does have an ironclad case to say that he's absolutely innocent of the charges that they propose to bring. But here's the thing. I have personal experience of how the Scottish courts work. And it doesn't really matter whether you're right or wrong. It only matters on the day what the sheriff decides, and he'll base his decision based on the evidence that's presented to him by the police, by the authorities. They take precedence over any evidence that a person wants to bring, right? I've got personal experience of that. And to my cost, although I won my case, it cost me 15 grand in lawyer fees and court fees. So Dave was in the position where it's possible that he could have won his case, but it would still have cost him thousands and thousands and thousands in legal fees that you can't claim back from anyone. You can't make the government pay for your legal fees. It's up to him. So, and the other thing is, it may have taken a year minimum to go through the court. Now, Dave didn't want that hanging over his head for a year, maybe even longer, and with the possibility of ending up with being found guilty, having a much, much bigger fine, and maybe even a custodial sentence imposed upon him, and have lawyer fees to pay. So he decided in the end to go and pay the £200, which I think, unfair as it is, and unjust as it is, was the right thing to do. And if I was in Dave's shoes, as I said to Dave, this is exactly what I would do if I was in your shoes. I'd just bite it. I'd bite the bullet, pay the 200, get on with my life, even though it's unfair. So Dave has decided to do that. And Dave set up a he said to me, what do you think I should set up a GoFundMe, because I can't really afford £200? I said, aye, sure, set it up and go for it. I was going to link Dave's GoFundMe page here tonight, but I'm not going to, because he's hit his target already. All he wanted was the £200 that it was going to cost him to have to pay for that, and he got it within a couple of hours of the GoFundMe going live. So Dave sorted as far as that goes. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed with that. That's it, done and dusted. I don't believe that Dave's going to take any further action against anyone, because really, once he pays the offer that's been made to him, he's accepting liability. So he can't. There's nothing else he can do. He can't go after anyone. He's got no grounds to. So Dave is going to get that behind him and just get on and hopefully continue to bring us the fantastic photos that he has been doing for a while. Okay. So Dave, I hope I haven't misrepresented you in any way there. If I have said anything that is not quite right, please feel free to correct me in the chat here, or later on if you want to email me or whatever and say, no, Robert, you said this and that was wrong, you said this, that was wrong, and I'll correct myself later. I'll make a wee short video to correct anything that if I've misspoken here. I don't think I have, though, because we had a good wee chat earlier on, and I think I've laid out exactly how this situation is. It's unjust, it's unfair, and it's once again, the government, corporations, the big guys, picking on the small guy and getting away with it. Yeah, that's how life is. Us small guys, we don't have much power. So that's it. It is what it is. Okay, right. So moving on, I want to put times at 10 past. Only took me 10 minutes for that. That was good. Right, so I've still got just over half an hour to go to get to the next part, and I've got plenty of time. So let me have a quick look through. I just want to check and see that I haven't misspoken either about George's article that he wrote. Very good article. And please, after this live stream, and after Drone Seekers International, click on that wee link and have a read through it. It's a good read, and you'll start to get probably quite angry, because George lays out quite clearly why Dave was not at fault, and Dave has been really wrong to you, and you might start to get a bit annoyed and angry about it. There's nothing we can do. Okay, but it's an interesting read. Right, so I just want to check through and make sure that I didn't say anything out of turn there, or I didn't misquote anyone. Um, I don't think I did, so there you go. Right. A lot of people talking about the intro tonight. Uh, yeah, I don't know why it was like that. The past couple of weeks, it's been great. Outside, like I say, when I'm out in the car somewhere, out in the middle of nowhere, it all runs fine. I'm actually here in the studio where I've should have a good internet. I'll maybe. I think it's the internet in here is not very good, and I'll need to try and sort it out. Right. Okay. Alba Faye the Air, hello there. Aye, everybody is having a giddish night. Right, just saying a few hellos. Right, Stephen, Stuck66. Stevie, yeah, where did you get the tan? It's no a tan, Stevie. Funnily enough, it's the lighting in it. If I turned the lights on fully on my face, that kind of redness would disappear. So it's only, look, see when I go dark, you see my face getting even brighter. It's just the lighting. I don't really know. I don't think I've set the lights up very well. That's all it is. So I haven't got a tan, unfortunately. Right. Aye. So there you go. We're just about there. I don't think I've got many hellos. Caroline says just go back for a week's holiday in Cornwall. Wet and windy pretty much the whole time. I know. Listen, I've just come to the end of 16 days of annual leave that I took, right? And before I took the annual leave, it was a whole week of glorious weather, great sunshine. I thought, fantastic, I'll take 2 weeks and that'll give me plenty of time to get out. The day I took the leave, that started my leave, was the day that the heavens opened and the rain hammered down. And the rain and the wind hasn't stopped since. I think I've had one day where it's been wind free and sun free, and I got out and I got some stuff done. And I have been out about another 3 or 4 days of my 16 and managed to get a little bit done. But what a waste of my annual leave. But there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the way it is. Caroline does say there, reiterating what I've said, a very, very unfair decision, but when the procurator rules for the establishment, it's really hard and risky to fight. It is, Caroline, it's very, very risky. One of the biggest problems is, I don't know if it's the same in England and Wales and Northern Ireland, but here in Scotland, the sheriff will always fall on the side of the police and the police witnesses. And I can tell you from my personal experience, the police will lie in the dock. They will take the oath and swear in the Bible with whatever hand as they swear, and then they'll lie through their teeth. I've been there and I've seen it happening. And the sheriff will not cast any aspersions on their character. They will say, okay, I must believe you as an officer of the court that you're telling me the truth, and that's it. And you can then refute what they have to say, but unless you've got actual hard evidence to show that they've lied, you've got no chance. And although Dave has all the logs and everything like that, it would take too long, it would be too costly, so it's unfair, but there it is anyway. Mark has told us it's 14 likes. That's not very many. How many people have we got in? I don't know. Got a few people in. I actually think I can look and see. I've got a wee thing here. How many? 57 people in the chat and I've got 14 likes. What's wrong? Are you all frauditors? Are you all in here giving me that like instead of that like? Aye. I've got a lot to say about frauditors, but I'm not going to. I'm not even going to mention frauditors. That's 3 times I've said that word. There's a lot going on in the frauditing world just now, which is fantastic for us, terrible for them. They're all going down the toilet, all of them. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that tonight because I've got something else I want to talk about, and I better get on with it because I've only got just over half an hour left. Right, the thumbnail for tonight. If you noticed the thumbnail, it was a video. If you watched the video where I went to Morton Castle and Morton Loch, I actually went down to 2 castles that are within a kilometre and a half of each other. And I filmed at Morton Castle and I filmed at the other castle. I haven't had time to work on that video yet, but I'm going to show you a tiny little snippet. It's not of any drone flight, but it's just a tiny little snippet where I do a 360 of the location. So let me bring that up here, and let me rewind. It's only 40 seconds, right? So let me switch it over. And I'll put the sound on, but all you hear is wind. I didn't have a cat's paw, and so it's very windy and a couple of birds singing. But this is the other castle that I was at, and I'm going to just show you at the new. So here it is. And let me, right, I'll just mute myself and you can listen to the wind. So there you go. Now that's Drumlanrig Castle. It's a beautiful castle, and there's an adventure park there, and there's a visitor centre and other things like that. Drumlanrig Castle. So that's the other castle I was at, and you will get the video on the drone flight and all of that very soon. And that brings me around to the point I want to talk about tonight, and it's for anyone who has a drone and lives in Scotland, or anyone who wants to come to Scotland or is coming to Scotland with a drone and is not 100% sure of where can you fly, what are the drone laws, are they different, what do I do? I'm going to tell you now and I'm going to show you. I'm going to keep it simple, and I must first of all say that I am not a lawyer, right? But what I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you the law, and I'm going to show you how it applies to you. And I'm talking about sub 250 gram drones here, all right? The CAA drone regulations are slightly different, as you know, for Rentable, but we're talking about 250 sub 250 gram drones here, right? I'm going to start this off by showing you this here. This is a place that I will be going to very soon, and it's called Bothwell Castle, right? Now this is the Google Maps view of Bothwell Castle. There's the wee car park, right? And you can drive to Bothwell Castle, and there's the castle there. But I want to show you this. If I zoom in on that, you can see that there. See that? No drones. There's a sign there that says no drones. Now this is something that you might encounter quite often in Scotland. There are places that have these signs up. Glenfinnan Estate is probably one of the most famous that's got a no drone sign with a drone that's been shot. It looks like with a shotgun and pinned to the top of a crucifix. It's been crucified. Okay, so you'll see these signs. They have one at the Wallace Monument as well, no drones, and they're starting to pop up everywhere. I want to tell you what the law is on that, right? The law is quite different in Scotland than it is anywhere else in the rest of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, right? And we have specific laws that pertain to us, that allow us certain freedoms that you other people don't have. And I'm going to show you some of these just now. So first of all, there was a fella sent, I'm going to click over to my screen and listen in, right? There was a fella who wanted to know, this is Bothwell Castle, the same castle there, right? The same castle from, obviously, a drone shot, right? So there was a fella who did an FOI, Freedom of Information Act, and he wanted to know, that's Bothwell Castle, right? The one I just showed you. He wanted to know, what is your legal position on why can't we fly? So there was a Freedom of Information request went in, right, on to Historic Environment Scotland's claims regarding their power to restrict airspace under, they cite the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act 1979, specifically in relation to drone flights over properties they care for. Right, so let me bring you back for a second. So that's why Historic Environment Scotland have a lot of sites that they take care of that say you can't fly over drones because we have special dispensation laws that prevent you from doing it. And one of the laws that they cite is this Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act 1979, right? So the requester, me, the fella that wrote this article here, right, he said, right, I'm going to find out. So he put a Freedom of Information request in, asking for any legal advice obtained by Historic Environment Scotland on their ability to create airspace restrictions, right? The specific subsection of Section 19 of the 79 Act, right, that they use, and he asked all of the details, right? They responded and did not provide specific legal backing from Section 19 for the drone policy, indicating that this section does not grant them the power to restrict airspace, right? They're sneaky. What it actually does is, HES suggested that their policy is designed to help them meet the legal obligations under health and safety legislation to ensure visitor safety and protect historic sites, right? So it does not directly grant HES the power to restrict airspace either. So you can read. Let me link that. I'll copy that as well, and I'll paste it in here so you can go to that and you can read that later on if you want. You can read that all the way through if I can find my cursor. Right. So here's the link to that you can go and have a look at that later on. No, don't do it now. Stay with me, and you can see that when they put the no drone sign up, and this is Historic Environment Scotland, it's castles, it's sites, historic sites all over Scotland, and they pop up the Wallace Monument, they pop up these signs, and they say it's this Ancient Monuments Act 1979, we can restrict it. Turns out they can't, right? That is it's a health and safety policy that they have to adhere to for the safety of their visitors, but that doesn't include them restricting the airspace. They try to kiddie on that it is. Okay, so there's that. So first of all, that proves straight away that those no drone signs don't mean anything, right? So the second thing is, and this is the bigger one and the more important one that gives us the freedoms. All right, I've gone back to there. Let me see if I can go back to part 1. Just let me get this all. I had it all set up earlier, but I was reading through it again. Right, I'm going to be showing you now the Land Reform Scotland Act 2003. And the Land Reform Scotland Act 2003 gives, I'll show you in a minute, it gives access rights to everyone in Scotland. I'll flick over now and I'll go through it. What's the time? 25 past. Right, I've got time. I'll go through this slowly because you need to get this right. You need to understand that I'm not just. A lot of people say there's no trespass law in Scotland, and yes, there is, and it doesn't apply to us. Blah blah blah. You do it like that. You have to be specific and know exactly what the Act says and how it pertains to you. And you have to know all of the subsections. You don't have to know them, but you have to understand that they are there for you and what they all mean. So I'm going to take you through it step by step and show you how in Scotland you can fly a drone pretty much anywhere. There are a few restrictions which I will show you too. Things like schools. No flight restriction zones, obviously. Places like schools, gardens, and you can't go into gardens. You can't go into properties, things like that. But I'm going to go through and show you all that step by step. So bear with me. Right. So the first thing here is this is the Land Reform Act Scotland. The Land Reform Scotland Act 2003. Once again, I will link this in the chat. And you can go and have a look at it. If you're coming to Scotland or if you live in Scotland, this is what you want to be referring to whenever you're not just flying your drone, but whenever you want to go somewhere and you're not sure if you're allowed to go, because you pretty much are, right? So it tells you here that this is part 1. Access right. Everyone, that means everyone in Scotland, whether you live in Scotland or whether you're visiting Scotland, everyone in Scotland has a statutory rights established in this part of the Act, right? Everyone. And those rights are the right to be, now listen, it is word for word, the right to be for any of the purposes set out in subsection 3 below, and we'll get into them in a minute, on land, and the right to cross land. But we're going to talk about the right to be on the land, not crossing it, because if you're flying a drone, you're going to be on the land and not crossing it, right? So the rights set out in subsection 2A above the may be exercised only. So if you want to be on the land for a purpose, here are the purposes. recreation purposes, straight away, flying a drone recreationally. There you go, that's it. We don't even need to go, I'm going to go further, but we don't need to, you're covered there straight away, right? You may, the above may be exercised only for recreational purposes, right? Also, for the purpose of carrying on a relevant educational activity. So, if you're making a video or you're collecting footage that you can then show to someone and educate them on any matter whatsoever, you're covered by B. C, for the purposes of carrying on commercially or for profit an activity which the person exercising the right could carry on otherwise than commercially or for profit. So that means if you're carrying out an activity that you're getting paid for, but that is an activity that you could also do and not get paid for, you can do that as well. All right? Okay. So, subsection 2A above, being on the land for any of the purposes, second subsection, a reference to going into, passing over and remaining on it for any of those purposes and then leaving it. Now the reason that is there and then leaving it is because you can't then start to build a house and stay there. You can't say that I now live on this land. You have to go on, carry out your recreational purpose and then leave. All right? Any combination of that, going into, passing over or remaining on it. Right? I'm not going to talk about crossing the land because you can cross any land, but we're talking about actually being on the land and flying a drone, right? Now, here we go. What is, it breaks down. It tells you here, for the purposes of carrying on a relevant educational activity. What is a relevant educational activity? Well, it breaks it down for you here. It says a relevant educational activity is for the purposes of subsection 3 above. That's this one. What is a recreational what is the purpose of carrying on relevant educational activity? Is furthering the person, that means the drone flyer if you like, furthering the person's understanding of natural or cultural heritage. So that means if you want to just see some of the Scottish landscape and flying a drone where you cannot see, to get you a visual sight of something that you can't see from where you're standing is there. It's furthering your understanding of natural heritage of Scotland. Or enabling or assisting other persons to further their understanding. So you might say, well, I know all about this castle, but my friends don't, so I'm going to fly a drone, take footage, I'm going to educate them about Scotland's cultural heritage. You're allowed to do it, right? Access rights are exercised above and below, right? Above, that means in the air, and below, right? Under the water, if there's a river, as well as on the surface of the land. So it covers everything here, right? So, the land in respect of which access rights are exercisable is all land except that specified in or under section 6 below. So there are some exceptions, and that is in section 6. So, let's look at section 6, right? Is everyone still with me? Are you still following me? Hold on, where are we? I need to get to section 6. Let me come back this way. That's chapter 2. I need to get to 6. Where is 6? 2, 3, 4, 6. Here you go. Land over which access rights is not exercised. This is where you're not allowed to go. Now, I've had a good read through this. I've read through the whole thing, right? So I'm not going to go through it all here. You can read that at your leisure. But what I am going to point out to you, the only place where you are, well, there are a few places like schools, like I've said, schools, fire stations, gardens. This is not flying over. This is actually going onto the land. You can't go onto someone's garden. You can't go into someone's property. You can't go into the grounds of a school. You can fly over them. You can't actually go into them, right? But here's the thing that's important when we're talking about places like the Wallace Monument. Hold on, I'm talking to the camera here, nobody's looking at me, right? When we're talking about places like the Wallace Monument or some castles and estates where you have to pay an admission fee to get in, you are restricted from going on there and flying a drone where you have to go and pay to get onto the site. But this site here, the castle, Drumlanrig Castle, although you have to pay when you get there, it's only for parking. You only have to pay to go into the car park. If you walk along the half-mile road, you can go up and fly your drone. If you've got a car with you, you'll have to park it and then you'll pay. But then you can come out of the car park and then you can fly it. And I'll show you that now. Right, so it says here, so chapter 6, section 6, I'll get to the point. Right, here we go. You're restricted to which the public access is by... Right, no, that's not it. No, right, here, for a particular recreational purpose to which, for not fewer than 90 days in the year ending, members of the public were admitted only on payment. And after this, only dates here, right? So there you go. So that's the only restriction on a historic Scotland site. If you have to pay admission to get onto the actual site, then you're restricted. But if you're only having to pay to park your car, you're not restricted. And that's how it works for the whole of Scotland. I'm going to leave that part there and let you read through. Click on my link and read through at your leisure. So that's it. That's that. So with those two things in mind, the first one, which is the Freedom of Information Act that was requested to Historic Environment Scotland to ask what it lay out the section of the law that allows you to restrict their space. They can't. They don't have any, right? And if you go into Historic Environment Scotland's website yourself, you will now see a disclaimer that says words to the effect of "we don't have the right to restrict drones," or something like that. I haven't got that screenshot for you here. But that Freedom of Information Act shows that they cannot restrict the airspace. Couple that with the Land Reform Scotland Act 2003, which allows us to go anywhere we like. You've now got the freedom to not just, you don't have to walk, you can stop, stand on any land and fly your drone. Right? It's as clear as it could be. This Land Reform Scotland Act 2003 doesn't exist in England or Wales or the North Island. Okay? I don't know what the laws are there. There probably are restrictions of some kind. Now, the final thing I want to say about this is that people may think, and you may have said this in the comments, I'll read the comments in a minute just to check. What about bylaws? What if the local council has a bylaw to restrict flying? Not in Scotland. Because a bylaw can only be applied to and passed by an Act of Parliament if there is not already a law that pertains to that restriction that the bylaw is asking to put in place. Now, the CAA already have restrictions. You can't fly higher than 120 metres, you can't fly beyond visual line of sight, and you can't fly over crowds of people. You all know the restrictions. So because those UK laws are already in effect, no local council can introduce a bylaw to counteract that, to put in a restriction there. The only restriction that can be put in there is by the CAA through an Act of Parliament changing the law. Right? So even if somebody tells you there's a bylaw here restricting zones, or if the local council put up a sign saying bylaw restricts, no, not unless there has been the bylaw has been given the King's consent and it's an Act of Parliament now, and that'll only happen if the bylaw, if there isn't a law already in place that the bylaw is seeking to introduce. Okay, everyone following me on this? I'm not being as clear as I would like to have been, and I'm not being as clear as when I was researching this and taking my notes and working it out. I was very clear on it, but because I've not been feeling great today, I might not be coming across as clear as I want. However, I've put the links in the chat in the chat for you, and you can go and read it through yourself. As I said, I'm not a lawyer, but you don't need to be a lawyer because the legislation is quite clear and you can follow it through. Every time it says see subsection 3A, pertaining to this. You just go and look at it and then you relate, how does that pertain to this? And it is quite easy to follow, okay? So anyway, let me have a wee look through your chat to see if anybody's had anything to say about that. Oh, George, I've just spotted that. Thanks very much for your... Here's a fiver for sharing my drone articles. Thanks very much, George. I appreciate that. Your article was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Made me angry, and I suppose that was possibly your intent, was to, not necessarily get people fired up, but make them see what an injustice is going ahead here with Dave, and which, if this is bad, could be bad, because this isn't a precedence. A precedence has not been set because Dave is not going to court and there won't be a precedence, which is quite good for the rest of us, because if Dave was found guilty, that would then set a precedence and could all be screwed from flying anywhere. But a precedence hasn't been set, and I forget where I was going with that one. No, I forget where I was going. But anyway, George, it was a good article. Thank you. Made me annoyed. Once again, to see another injustice that the courts in Scotland. I think Scotland's quite bad for this. Sheriffs have a lot of power in their courts. They basically they rule it, and they say this is what I think, and therefore that's the decision of the court, and that's pretty much it. You can kind of argue till you're blue in the face. You can present as much evidence as you want, but they will still decide what they want to decide. You can appeal things, but these sheriffs, they've been in the game for a long time, and they're all in the same club. They're not going to go against each other's decisions. So sometimes the little man just has to suck up, and I'm talking about me and Dave and all of us have to suck up these things. It's no fair. So your article was good, made me angry, but that was probably not unexpected. Right, I don't know what this is. Here we go. J. Richard says, hello, Mr. Scotsman. I've been following you for a while. Really like your videos. I've watched a few videos from different people, but find yours very useful and fun at the same time. I thought I'd hit the mute there. Fun at the same time. Shout out, please. Jay, okay, I'm giving you a shout out. I don't normally do that, but because I didn't recognise your name, I gave you a shout out. It's normally easier if... like Graham Lindsay here, he actually put at Windswept Robert, you see at the beginning, and what happens then is on my screen, it lights up in orange. Bam, I can see that. So straight away, those are the posts that I generally click on first. But I give you a shout anyway. There won't be an exam at the end of this one, Graham, no, but I do encourage everyone who is in Scotland or who wants to one day come to Scotland with a drone and is unsure about the law to go and click on the links that I've put in the chat and have a look through these laws, and I think you'll find, oh, that's good, oh, this is great, you're a lot less restricted, and it's good ammunition to have if you're confronted by a person of authority who probably doesn't know the legislation, what it actually says. They only know that their boss told them, don't worry, they can't do it. We are Historic Environment Scotland, and we control the airspace. So some wee guy, a ranger or somebody, is going to come and tell you, no drones, no drones. Aye, okay, jog on. Right, this gives you good ammunition. And you can always print it out, laminate it, keep it in your back pocket, and if you're not sure, you can say, hold on a minute, why am I not allowed to fly here? Because this is blah. Well, let me just check what the legislation says. The legislation here says that blah, 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 blah. That might be quite handy to have as well. In Scotland. In England, don't ask me, ask an Englishman or an English woman. I don't know. Right. Davy, here's Davy. Davy, a follow-up, it looks like. I made a complaint to Lothian Buses. They apologised for his behaviour. I don't want to take this any further. I could if I wanted to, but at the end of the day, life is too short for him. Davey, you've maybe been talking earlier in the chat about this. I haven't been following the chat because I've been too busy talking away. Thanks for giving us the updates. Fair enough, making a complaint. I think that's fair enough. I think you were. I'm giving you my opinion because I'm a loudmouth. And I'm opinionated and it's my show, so I'll give you my opinion. I think you were right to make the complaint because it was out of order. The bus driver should not have been off his bus unless it was an emergency. You know, he had spotted someone having a heart attack and he knew cardiac procedures and stopped his bus to go and save a life or some other emergency like that. Other than that, he should not have left his passengers in his bus. Certainly not to come and confront a member of the public who was doing nothing out, against the law, and certainly nothing to do with the bus driver. So fair enough making a complaint. I'm also glad to hear that you're not taking it any further. And I would have been the same. I would have asked them, I want to complain about his behaviour, but I don't want to take this any further. If you deal with it internally, give him some extra training or whatever is required, that's fine. I'm happy with that. Because we don't want the guy to lose his job, okay? He was a bit of a twat coming out, right? We're all twats at times. Me more than most, I would imagine. We don't want the guy to lose his job over it. So I'm glad that you didn't take it any further. And yeah, you could have, but why? Why? You're not going to get anything out of compensation. Not that you'd want to, because you're not a frauditor, but all that would happen in the end is that the guy may end up losing his job, and nobody wants that. So well done, Davey. Right. Oh, Graham, I've already said, look, not sure if DJI have a mole drone in development. Something they need to look at. Because you can go under as well as over. No bad idea. Right, here you go. Great. Oh, Graham, you're saying a lot of good stuff, but I can't keep putting your name up. Right. Drone time flights, thanks very much for the super chat. It is good info about where you can fly. Only in Scotland though, right? But it is good info. And what I'm hoping as well is I'm hoping that it maybe encourages more people to come to Scotland with their drones who are thinking, it's a long way to go to maybe not be able to fly my drone because there are no drone signs all over the place. So, hopefully this wee show tonight will have maybe encouraged some people to say, right, I'm fairly restricted down here in England or Wales or Non-Ireland, but if I head up to Scotland, I can fly about fairly unrestricted. So that was my aim, was to educate and open up my homeland to anyone who wants to come and visit, as if I've got any power to do that. Dave, avoid French Navy ships in Scotland. See, Dave, here's the thing. I was thinking about this, and I think a few people have said it in the comments about on the video that I made for you, is that I hate using this word woke, and I don't think people understand what woke means. People think woke means one thing, and people on the opposite side think woke means exactly the opposite. But what I would say is that the French, as we all know, they don't take any they don't care, right? The French will act on emotions and they don't really care, right? Whereas we here may be more reserved for whatever reasons, scared of breaking the law, scared of going to court, scared of getting fined and getting sent to prison, because we have a government in this whole of the UK and in Scotland that are like, very, very on top of us, whereas the French don't care. And that may be why the French were quite so eager, well, not caring about whether they attacked you or not. Had it been a British warship, you probably wouldn't have seen any Royal Navy sailors coming to accost you. So maybe be careful around foreign ships, because even although you're not doing anything wrong, they don't care. They'll have at it. And I kind of like that, I don't like the fact that they assaulted you, Dave, obviously, but I do like the fact that they stood up for what they believed, even if you sort of came off worse than that. I kind of like that idea, because I like to stand up for myself too, and I think we all should. Right, okay. Cyril has got a quite... Oh, Cyril, it's quite interesting. I had a guy at my door telling me my Mini 2 was disturbing his goats. This guy was a drummer in a band and did his practice sessions 10 yards away from his goats. Cyril, people are crazy, and they are getting crazier. Since the COVID... I keep saying this. Since the COVID happened, people seem to have just lost their mind. The slight annoyance gives people the reason to believe that they have a right to phone 999 and get my lawyer on the case. There's a guy out there with a jumper that's so bright it's hurt my eyes and I want something done about this. Look, what are you kidding me? But people are like, it's getting to that point where if something annoys someone, they'll either confront that person, how dare you do something that annoys me, or they'll phone the cops. I've got a guy here who's really winding me up. What's he doing? Well, he's whistling a tune. And it's out of tune. It's it's tuneless. You know, people are doing stuff like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. Right, Nick B put at Windswept Robert, so it came up in orange, saw it straight away. Sorry I'm late. I forgot to join. I'm sitting quietly in the corner as a punishment. I'll watch back later. Okay, Nick, welcome here. You're late, and I'm going to be finishing up. I'm going to be finishing up in the next couple of minutes. Like I said, I need to finish early because I'm on the Drone Seekers International tonight as their guest, which starts at 8:00. So I don't. Mark, could you maybe put a wee link in the thing? I haven't got the Drone Seekers up in front of me here. Although I do think I tried a new thing tonight. When I end this broadcast, I think a trailer will pop up, maybe, or a link to the Drone Seekers might just automatically pop up. I tried to set it up to do that, but you know, if you've got the ability to put a wee link in the chat here, I'd like to encourage everyone to nip over, because there might be a kind of question. I don't know what Drone Seekers International have got lined up tonight. No idea. I've got no clue. I'll just be on there answering any questions anyone asks me. So it might be an opportunity, because I'm not in the hot seat and I'm not having to try to control everything at one time. I'll be more relaxed and able to maybe answer a few questions if any are put to me. So if you want to nip over and do that, that might be interesting. Graham, thanks very much. Fees to complete my solicitor training? No thanks. I've got a couple of cousins who are solicitors, and it's not something that I did think about being a lawyer when I was young, because I like to argue, and I thought I'll make a good lawyer because I can make a good argument, but it's no fun. I'm too old. There you go, Mark. Thanks very much for putting that link in the chat. And Mark, thanks. Also, I see that Argos Danny, you deleted a thing and you've put him in a timeout. Argos Danny has been a guy who's been making comments in some of the videos I've been making they're on the edge of being offensive. I haven't been deleting any of his things like that, but thanks, Mark. I didn't see anything that you said, but I absolutely trust your judgment on any moderating actions that you take. So thanks for that. Right, got a minute to go. Just let me have a quick look round here. That's funny. Drone Time Flights. We are on the same wavelength. I think you're right. Aye. Maybe you did see the comment that he made. I didn't. I've got no idea. Right, here's Jay. He has put at Windswept Robert up this time, so I did see it in orange. Talking about ships, I'm watching your show at sea on a cruise ship. Oh, you weren't allowed to bring your drone with me. They deemed drones as prohibited items. Link to my channel, telling them all to subscribe and like. Oh, and if for anyone who's watching, you haven't put a thumbs up yet, can you give me a thumbs up just before we finish up? Right. I'm going to, sorry for finishing the show early, but I need to get over to Drone Seekers 10 minutes before the show starts so that I can make sure that all of the technology and everything is connected up and I'm actually on there in time and everything works, the audio and everything works. So I'm going to sign off the new, right? There you go. I'm going to sign off the new. There will be a few more videos coming out in the week, but now that I'm back at work, there might not be as many as I had hoped would be appearing. Hopefully I'll be live out on location somewhere nice at the weekend, because now that I'm back at work, the sun will come back out. I know that. It'll be beautiful. So hopefully I'll be out at a nice location next week. Thanks for tuning in. Give us a wee thumbs up in the door on the way out if you haven't done it. And hopefully I'll see you all over in the Drone Seekers International at 8 o'clock. So thanks a lot, and I'll see you then.